Konnichiwa, Dick Punchers and Dick Punchettes. Guess what? We are, how far into this game? Oh, I don't care. Let's see. Slurped. We're going to go ahead. We are
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours into this playthrough. And we are
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours into this playthrough. And we just got... excuse me. So yeah, what do you think of my
Hero
theory?
Shade, Okay, so this is not really like anything about him in general, but at least his role in this game. You know how in like almost every single Zelda game, I couldn't tell you if there's not a game where it shows up, the owl.
Dude, there are lots of games where it doesn't show up.
Well, in any different way. Like this game, technically, the owl doesn't show up. However, if you look at the Hero Shade's armor, it's definitely an owl face on his armor.
Okay.
So he is basically the owl in this game. Dark Souls does the same thing. Like, well, even though they're not the same timeline, per se, even though they might be making it so it is, but we'll talk about that in Dark Souls, because I do want to talk about that, is that design-wise, there's always, like, certain things that always show up in the games. And I would like to go through each of the Zelda games to see, okay, so there's not a physical owl, but who is the owl character? Is there like an owl...
The guide.
Symbol, like, yeah. Like, in this game, obviously, the Hero Shade is technically your guide. He's the one that teaches you all your skills and stuff like that. He kind of gives you the purpose.
I disagree. And would you like to know why? Because the Hero Shade's entire storyline is optional.
Well, that's true.
If you want to, you can leave him in limbo forever.
That's true.
Is a completely douchey thing to do, and why wouldn't you learn those sword skills?
Well, canonically, though, I mean, it's you kind of have to.
Well, you don't have to. It just makes the game harder.
Yeah.
If you do.
But anyways, so obviously he's the owl in this game.
Oh, look at that. No Z target. Nice.
Obviously, Link's Awakening, there's an owl. Ocarina of Time, there's an owl. I would say, honestly, the owl in Wind Waker is actually, and again, designs on the ship. The
King of Red Lions.
Yeah. Because there's owl designs in that design.
Okay.
So, like, if you go through... there's always a Zelda. There's always forest spirits. There's always going to be Gorons. There's always going to be those designs. There's always going to be sky people. It's just what they are. And there's always going to be an owl. It's just what form does it take.
Right.
And I find that neat in these type of games. Like, they're loosely connected. But, I mean, there's something going on. Because, I mean, in Dark Souls, again, there's always a Patches and there's always a Crow. And there's always a Moonlight Greatsword. Those things show up in every single game, regardless if they're in the same game, like the Dark Souls series, Bloodborne, Demon Souls. It's always there. Just things I find that's neat. And, again, more parallels, I guess, technically, to Zelda and Dark Souls. Is that they kind of do the same themes, whereas there's always some sort of consistent, even though technically they're different games.
Well, they are connected. Timeline-wise.
Well, timeline-wise.
Which, by the way, so many people are angry about that, but I don't understand why.
I don't understand that either. But, I mean, for the longest time, they weren't. Like, like Skyward Sword was the one that cemented that it was timeline connected.
And thank God for that. Because the fact that none of these Zelda titles, like, on the surface level, seemed to actually be connected, always really put me off. Like, I didn't like it.
Well, I think that's where it led. It was kind of one of those games where... It was one of those things where they started making it, they weren't expecting it to be like a hit series.
Right.
So it's kind of one of those things where they wanted to make things similar because they want you to come back and play this game because of familiar things. And eventually, since they had so many successful titles, and it's now like, what are we, like 17 or whatever games in now?
Something like that. 30 years.
30 years, 17 games, whatever it is. I don't know what the actual count of games are.
We could count them.
We could.
You want to?
Right. After my thought here, so I'm losing.
Okay.
The point is that they kind of had to come out and say, yes, they're connected, or no, they're not connected. Because if they didn't, then, just like you just get basically blue balls.
Yeah.
From not knowing.
Yeah, you get fandom blue balls.
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, how many games are there?
Well, let's see. I'll name games you count. Once again, I'm going to go by timeline. Ready?
Okay.
Skyward Sword. Minish Cap. Four Swords. Ocarina of Time. Majora's Mask. Twilight Princess. Four Swords Adventures. Alright. A Link to the Past. Oracle of Ages. Oracle of Seasons. Link's Awakening. A Link Between Worlds. Triforce Heroes. The Legend of Zelda. Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. Wind Waker. Phantom Hourglass. Spirit Tracks. How many are we up to?
18.
Okay. Do you want to count Link's Crossbow Adventure?
No, because that's technically not a game.
It's
not in the Historia.
Do you want to count Hyrule Warriors?
That's more of a what-if scenario. Because that's just like a combination of all the games.
Okay.
Well, now, technically no, because it has its own storyline. So yes, I would count that.
It technically takes place outside of the canon Zelda timeline. It's an alternate universe.
But it still has its own technical story.
Yeah. He's like,
yes.
What is this thing? Look at the bird tits on it. Like, oh,
it's the Sky People.
In look at Link's face though.
Yeah.
But in the canon primary Zelda timeline, there are 18 games.
Yeah. But I mean, I think if you would look, and honestly, I think because the story obviously came out before Hyrule Warriors.
Yes.
I guarantee if there's an updated Historia, they'd fit Hyrule Warriors in there somewhere. Because it was super popular for what it was.
Well, what I said was the official word from Nintendo. The official word from Nintendo is that it is not on the timeline. But then again, they said the same thing about Triforce Heroes at first.
Yeah.
At first, but they backpedaled. Hyrule Warriors has been out for, 2 years now? And they haven't backpedaled yet? They backpedaled on Triforce Heroes, almost immediately.
Oh, did you count Link Between Worlds?
Yes.
Okay.
Need a key.
Well, honestly, you know what? I think Hyrule Warriors would probably be to kind of simulate, Link or Hyrule Warriors is almost like the equivalent of the Watchers in Marvel Universe. That they're outside of the timeline, but they're still important to every single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Hyrule Warriors is kind of like if Hyrule Warriors didn't go off well,
yeah,
all the other timelines would get fucked up. So the actual universe, the Link from Hyrule Warriors is, he's not the first, he's not the last, but he is how do I say this? The Link, Zelda, and Ganondorf from Hyrule Warriors, in my mind, is actually the spirit of rebirth of Link, Zelda, and Ganondorf. That they are what gets reborn in each of these games.
Okay, so you think this is some kind of,
it's outside of the universe.
Ethereal plane.
Yeah.
Okay.
They are the ones that are what gets reborn. It's just that in whatever heaven, hell, whatever other world there is in the Zelda universe, apparently they're still fighting up there even when they're dead. And that's why we got Hyrule Warriors.
See, I'm not a fan. I always thought of them as an alternate timeline. And all the overlap you have with Twilight Princess characters and Ocarina of Time characters, they're alternate versions of the characters we know from those games. If that makes sense.
Yeah, but it also makes sense with my thoughts because,
no, because how do you kill something in heaven?
You use heaven guns.
Well, I mean, what happens if you die in the afterlife? Is there an afterlife?
Well, think about it this way, alright? So say that they're all dead and stuff like that, and obviously, just like the Triforce, when they're alive, quote-unquote, there has to be balance, right?
Okay.
So an outside force screws up that balance by giving Ganondorf more power, and eventually, in Hyrule Warriors, Ganondorf actually obtains all three parts.
Well, see, that's the thing. There isn't balance. Like, the goddesses aren't like these benevolent beings looking for balance.
Well, no, but I'm saying, like, it ends up that...
I just completely lost track of what I was doing.
It ends up that Link always has courage, Zelda always has wisdom, and Ganondorf always has power. I
just completely lost track of what I was trying to accomplish. Because this is a good conversation.
But has there ever been...
Alright, I freed the monkey. Oh, I know what I need to do.
Has there ever been a game where, like, the actual embodiment of what is inside of, like, Link and Zelda ever been taken by Ganondorf?
Where Ganon has ever completed the Triforce?
Like, not completed it, but not just completed it, but took the power of the goddesses. Because obviously, some of the games, the Triforce is a physical thing.
Well, it is. It's a physical artifact. But it can inhabit a body.
Yeah. So is there any of the games, per se, where when it's physically inhabited, been stolen from them?
Well, this game.
Well, no.
Zelda gives up her life force to
give the Midna, though, but it never goes to Ganondorf. What I'm saying is one of the other owners of the part of the Triforce absorbing some from the other people in the Triforce.
Not from the other people, but Ganon gets a completed Triforce in A Link to the Past.
Well, yeah. But, I mean... And that's the other question, is technically, even though the Triforce is a physical thing in Link to the Past, doesn't technically Link still have the Triforce of Courage inside of him?
Which Link?
Well, in Link to the Past. Like, in order for you to be the Destined Chosen Hero, you have to have part of that Triforce.
Ow, fuck you, bomb bug thing.
So what per se is the physical Triforces inside Link to Legend of Zelda 1, Link to the Past?
Well, here's what happened. The Link to the Past takes place in the Fallen Hero timeline, right? So, Link to the Past takes place after a timeline where, in the final battle in Ocarina of Time with Ganon, Link loses. And what ensues then is a great big war, and it winds up being called the Imprisoning War. And in the Imprisoning War, the end result is Ganon gets sealed away along with the Triforce itself. The Triforce itself is sealed in the Sacred Realm. Because if you remember, it isn't until in Ocarina of Time when Ganon opens the door to the Sacred Realm that they actually get the pieces of the Triforce. Because his heart was impure when he touched it, it split. At which point, the blessing of each of the three goddesses fell on to the respective people.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in Link to the Past, it's just hidden away.
Oh, by the way, I love this 3D representation of the 2D flying floor pieces. I think it's really cool. So basically what you're saying is that
the Triforce is a physical artifact unless someone gains a goddess's blessing, and it then inhabits them. Like, how do I explain this without being crude? Energy. The energy in an energy drink. The energy drink is the physical manifestation of that energy. Yeah. Mass energy equivalence. Straight from physics, right? So when you drink that energy drink, it gets converted into energy.
I think I know what you're getting at. Basically,
it transforms. It changes form.
Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is that the physical the actual physical Triforce itself
becomes like spiritual energy or magic or whatever, and actually physically inhabits.
So the body. How about we say this? I think this would make sense, at least in my mind. The physical Triforce itself has no power. It's more like a conduit. That when it comes together, then it collects the power.
Well, the physical Triforce itself, it's not itself power. It grants wishes. If you notice that.
Yeah.
If there's a physical Triforce and it's not inside of somebody, that person doesn't have the power of the Triforce.
No.
They just have a device that grants them wishes.
So again, it's a conduit. That it can only work when it's all together, and at that point then, it's a conduit for power, wisdom,
well, that's
courage.
not necessarily true, because the individual pieces make the people who have them stronger. It's... the nature of it changes. Like, fuck, let me think. It's like carbon dioxide versus carbon monoxide. The addition of one more oxygen turns it from this, like, normal gas that's everywhere into, like, this deadly smothering thing.
Yeah.
The nature of it changes depending on the time and depending on the specific situation. If the person... its natural state is it's a physical artifact. But if you touch it with an impure heart, that causes it to shatter. And each person chosen by a piece of it gains the power of that specific piece. But it only, like, grants wishes and gives you control of everything if you assemble the whole thing.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Anyways,
it's time for...
next time.
Yeah.
So we'll fight this vagina penis monster next time.
Awfully phallic.